Hey, gentlemen, how about this? We'll start the show with a little bit of, hey, welcome to next week's live podcast and the show that we've been kicking around here for the last 10 months, and it's been a lot of fun. Can you guys believe it's Thanksgiving? I mean, unbelievable how this year has just flown by. So I wanted to welcome you to the show. I know we have a lot of stuff to cover. I'm going to be taking a little bit different position on this show. Kevin Kern has graciously accepted some responsibilities for Stramaglio Consulting. He is world famous, Konica Minolta world,
For all
and
the wrong reasons.
we'll talk a little bit more about Kevin's 25 or so years with Konica Minolta. And then, of course, we have our TAG friends, Brian Suerth and Dale Stein. And we're very, very happy to have you guys on the show. And as I mentioned before, this is a little bit of a different show. Usually I'm guiding the show, I'm hosting the show. And like I said, I'm going to stand down a little bit and become more of a participant than a leader in the show. And I'm going to leave that responsibility to Kevin. So just a little bit of an introduction. I've known Kevin for a lot of years, probably more than he'd care to admit. But
I was 12 when I met you. Let's go with that.
let's go with that. So I'm really, really thrilled, and I mean this sincerely. Kevin truly does have a great relationship in the industry, in a wide variety of positions. And how many years were you with Konica Minolta?
I was there 27 years.
So I got it right. So 27 years, recently left Konica Minolta and started his own consulting company. And as you know, we started the consortium about a year and a half ago, and it's been going, thankfully, extremely well. And Kevin has brought his very formidable skill sets and experience to help us grow this. And he's playing a very active role as well with ECS 23. And one of the responsibilities we asked him to take over was the growing relationship with TAG. And TAG, as you know, if you're in the BTA channel, especially, has taken a pretty significant footprint in helping the dealers make profit in the IT services business. And EBITDA is very important to all of us. So with that, I'm going to stand down. I'm going to ask Kevin to pick it up. But gentlemen, I really am thrilled to have you on the show. You've been great friends and great professional partners with us for more than a year now. And we're here to help you grow that business. So Kevin, if you don't mind, I'm going to turn it over to you. So thank you, Kevin.
Great. Thanks, Mike. And it's a lot of fun to be talking to these guys, Brian and Dale, because the dealer adoption of IT services was sort of a passion of mine way back when Konica Minolta actually acquired All Covered, because you could see the adjacency of the service organization mentality and levels of support that they have to provide to their customers. And it seemed like a natural fit for dealers to start to move into that space, especially because most of the MSPs in the mid-market were very small companies. And so it made some sense. The issue's been over time, this is what Brian and Dale asked them some questions about that, is a lot of people are either fearful or haven't quite figured out how to make it work yet. Because it sounds good on paper, but it's sometimes hard to execute. So, Brian or Dale, if you give a little background on what you guys do, how you got started, for those who aren't aware of that today, and hopefully we'll provide some more exposure here. And then we'll probably ask some questions, and Mike may jump in with a few along the way as well to see, really what can even, I've heard small dealers say, not for me, can't do it. Could they? And do it successfully. So anyway, turn it over to you guys, maybe give a little background and where you're from and what you do.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin. Fantastic. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Michael. It's always an honor and a privilege to be on your podcast, and we've always enjoyed our friendship with you, and it's been fantastic. And we're thrilled to be working with Kevin now. He brings a tremendous amount of value to our organization and obviously to the dealer channel for all these years. My name is Brian Suerth. I'm the president of the organization, and we're thrilled to have my mentor and partner, Dale Stein, co-founder of TAG. And Dale, I thought maybe you could introduce yourself and then kick it off with an introduction to TAG.
Real good. So once again, thank you. And I'm honored that I'm a partner and a mentor, Brian. Enjoyed our relationship for the last 25 years. And that's basically when TAG originated. Came from the telephony side of the business 25 years ago, sold that company. We were the Mitel's largest dealership in North America. And at the sale of that, we created TAG Technology Assurance Group to teach people how to sell phone systems and build on the success that we had at that company. And 25 years ago, we didn't have IT. We didn't have managed services. It didn't exist. So about 20 years ago, we took the telephony people and transitioned them over to managed services. And we said, hey guys, very successful in transitioning the telephony people over to IT. And we also said break fix doesn't work. So we were one of the leaders and one of the pioneers in creating managed services and understanding and selling it. We took that group, became successful with it. And about 15 years ago, the IT industry start looking at us and saying, how and why are your members as profitable as they are? Because most IT companies, if they were making 6-7% EBITDA, they were doing really well. And so we spent a number of years building that organization and got some very successful IT companies to come into EBITDA. And our benchmark at INET is a 20% EBITDA. We do have companies that are 30% and higher in EBITDA, and those that are below are members coming up through the ranks and going through our processes. Then about 5 years ago, Brian introduced himself to the office equipment companies. And so the last 5 years, we've been working with them. And I'm going to turn this back over to Brian. And Brian, maybe, you can explain some of the 6 things that we found that weren't really being done properly, in our opinion, in the industry, and what we've been doing to rectify that.
All right. Well, thank you, Dale. As Dale mentioned, TAG's been around for 24 years. We're also in the business as well. He mentioned the word INET. So that is the company that we own, our own managed technology service provider, where we sell IT, telephony, surveillance, cybersecurity, Azure throughout Southern California. So we're in the business as well. And so as Dale mentioned, we had the opportunity to start working with the office technology industry about 5 years ago. But prior to that, we started educating ourselves on that industry, the opportunities, the challenges, and it really prepared us when we did enter it. And what we learned when we first entered it was there was consistency across the board in where most office technology dealers were essentially making the same 5 or 6 mistakes where it really deteriorated their ability or hindered their ability to make profitability in IT. And I'll just mention a handful right now. Number one, pricing. The lowest pricing we've seen in the entire IT industry has come out of copier companies transitioning into IT. So out of the gate, it's been very tough for those organizations to make money because the prices were so low. They're almost essentially giving it away. The owners of that, most owners in the copier world are subsidizing their IT business with their copier business. So that's one. Another one is too many technicians to support their existing business. So way too many technicians, too much labor associated with it to even support it. So they're losing money out of the gate. Another one is wrong salespeople implementing the wrong sales process with the wrong sales compensation plan. So you got some issues there as well. And then tracking labor hours was an issue. Those that thought they were profitable in IT weren't profitable in IT. And unfortunately, a lot of it is tracking, because it's critical to know if you are making money in IT, every associated labor hour has to be associated with what the technician is doing. So between those items, Dale, I don't know if I missed any, but those items all added up to what we consistently found. And this is something, as Dale mentioned, about 20 years ago, we started transitioning hundreds of telephony dealers, no different than copier dealers, into managed IT with low risk, low barrier to entry. So we've had the model, and now we're just applying that model to copier companies. And every copier company that's coming to TAG, we're seeing a hockey stick in their sales and profitability after they've started to implement, what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that also differentiates what we bring to the industry is that the office equipment owners did not have a knowledge of IT, so they hired VCIOs, paid them $100,000 a year, and had them go run their companies. And they went and ran the company without the sense of a sales process. And the sales process from an IT standpoint was get the price down and try to close it. So the sales approach by being backed up and supported by the IT company was the major shift that we've made. We become more sales centric than H24.3.2 because the customer really doesn't care about it. What's in it for me? The sales process shows the value and what it's going to do for them. And we don't get into too much H24.3, but our operations department is an absolute critical part of the sales process as a support to the sales. That made a big difference.
Yeah, I think, from past experience, what I've seen as well, people are afraid to ask for the right price. It's because they're not used to it, and it doesn't align well with the MFP business in terms of how you go to market. And you mentioned a really key point there, which is providing value, not stuff. And I think that's the transition from a traditional copier mentality into IT services is customers buy value, not technology. And that probably helps their copier side too if they learn to adopt that. Question is, do you believe it's separate sales forces required for IT services in most dealers, or is it something that could be a plug into their current sales force?
Well, let me answer that one because yes, I think that was the other major mistake is that they were sold that hey, you have 10 salespeople, 5 salespeople, they all have relationships with their customers. You're going to have more business than you know what to do with. And the reality is that the sales side of this business is not the difficult side. It's the operational side. Most companies can't put in more than 2 deals a month of a $3,000 to $5,000 transaction. And what happened was the sales force selling copy machines. One is that most of them didn't sell that machine to the owner of the company or the CPA of that company or the CFO of that company. So they were selling it to the wrong person. And then we go in with the IT side. The IT is the most intimate thing you can possibly have in a business. The CFO and the owner of the company has to have an understanding of what that does for them. So a lot of churn, a lot of misinformation being given to everybody. Our success is, and we start somebody out, give us one salesperson. All right, if that one salesperson can do 1 or 2 deals a month of the right size and the right products, you're going to be a very successful managed service company. And what they tried to do is that they try to get everybody in at one time, and it didn't work. They had wrong salespeople, wrong commission plans. If you can't get one person to be successful, you're not going to get 6 or 7 simultaneously to be successful. So we pare it down now when we bring in a office equipment company. We say, give us one guy, all right? We'll mentor him, her, bring them through the process, train them on the process that we have with the 12 steps that we have, and walk each step for the first 4 or 5 deals. And then we also teach them how to set appointments within their base, which they weren't very successful doing. And we were able to tone that down also. Anything else to add to that, Brian?
Yeah, the other thing I was going to do is that what we also do with the rest of the sales team is we educate them, which most are uneducated on the value of IT or what IT can do for a business or how important it is or how important it is for the office technology industry or company to diversify and pick up that revenue stream for the survivability and stability and longevity of that organization. And that's critical, right? So what we do then is we work with not only the one individual, but we work with the rest of the team to teach them the value of IT, teach them the benefit of IT to the end user, but also to their company, and then how to bring it up with their customers so they can bird dog for that individual, right? So that we can turn them into better bird dogs. They can find opportunities, and they can also funnel opportunities, obviously, to the company as well. So we go through that process with the rest of the team.
If you look at the clients you've dealt with so far, what's the typical size of a dealer that you've gone in and worked with these days?
So it's really, so the typical size is anywhere, kind of on the low end. Or I think our smallest office technology dealer is 3 million, and on the top end is 30 million. So we work anywhere from within that range. We do have one outlier that's a very large organization that that we're assisting in a little bit different manner through acquisition, because we also do M&A. So we know how to work with. We've been doing M&A for 24 years with our members. At any given time, we're helping at least 3 or 4 of our members acquire somebody in the marketplace, right? Could be another copier dealer, could be an IT company, could be a telephony company, could be anything. And so we do have one outlier that's a very, very large organization where we aid them in identifying and structuring and valuating from an acquisition standpoint. But our average size is typically anywhere from that kind of 3 million to 25 million range. And they've come into TAG with a handful with no IT whatsoever. And so what we do is we transition them into IT. We protect their investment along the way, and we use our methodologies to get them into the business so they don't repeat the same issues that their peers have. And then those that are in the business, we dig into that business. We look at their stack of business. We look at their pricing. We look at their staff. We look at their salespeople. We implement our sales process, and then bam, we're able to impact their business and then turn it to a different direction where they're increasing their profits.
So Brian or Dale, whoever wants to answer this, you mentioned this thing, $3 million dealer. I know a lot of what I'd call the 3 to 5 million range, or even up to 8 million, who are terrified, may not be the right word, but skeptical of their ability to enter that business because they've heard a lot of the horror stories. I got into it. It took me 7 years to get to profitability, et cetera. So it sounds like your process A can help shortcut that. But B, is there any characteristics among those guys in terms of business size and tenure and mentality in terms of being able to move that way, or more importantly, maybe in terms of their market? Does that have a big influence?
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit to that, Kevin. When you get the $3 to $5 million dealer in that marketplace, typically it's a smaller marketplace at that size.
I want to go back to one thing I think, Dale, you mentioned too, billable hours. This copier mentality, service mentalities, we get a service contract technician, we expect this, productivity per technician per region. A couple things. Number one, is the mentality in a lot of these dealers to even handle billable hours? And number two, maybe the bigger question is, how well do their internal IT systems handle billable hours versus the copy print mentality?
So when you look at we do a presentation for someone coming into this industry. How do you obtain a 20% EBITDA transaction? Because our whole pricing, our whole methodology of how we manage, how many technicians, what the KPIs are, we have a complete set of numbers that say if you do this, you will have a 20% EBITDA. It's a matter to get them to do that. And we have a very, very strong operational side to our company, a tremendous amount of experience of not only handling NOx, but the technology also, managing the technology, hiring the right technologists. So 20% EBITDA here's the formula, and you have to follow the formula. And if you follow that formula, you're going to be successful. The problem is that, our mind can be our best friend and it can be our worst enemy. We have preconceived ideas of how to do our business. And the reason that we are getting more and more successful in having companies now start to get into the business is that we have companies that we can say, okay, here's a company, here's 7 companies that came in doing zero IT. Here's where they're at today. And oh, by the way, the hardest job we had was protecting them from spending money where they didn't need to spend it. All right, we don't need to start. When you're going to start off, you don't need 100,000 VCIO. Give me a Tech 2. Do your own network first. Let's go get 2 or 3 deals and start building that transaction. And then that Tech 2 is either going to elevate themselves to a Tech 3 or a manager. Or when you have the volume, then you bring in that management and you conserve the cash, you conserve the profit. We're very, very concerned about not spending any money to start your business. And that may be because every business all of us have been involved in, we've bootstrapped every business we've ever been in. And as a group, all right, I think at the end of this year, we're going to hit close to $1 billion in product and services in this space as a group. We service 900,000 plus SMBs, all right, which means, and we're in 148 cities across the country. Well, that gives us a brain bank of technology, and it also gives us cooperative purchasing, which gives us a competitive advantage in
So
the
you're really
marketplace.
bringing almost a cultural change into the organization as much as a business change.
Yeah, so just going on to what you were saying earlier too, Kevin, in terms of billable. So what we do is we educate them on the right way. So we have pricing calculators. We're very hands-on in educating them on, okay, not only what Dale said is the technology stack, because whatever it is, whether it's a firewall or whatever, you can sell it for more. They do the same thing, but if you do it this fashion, you're gonna sell a lot more money. But in terms of preparing them, we prepare them with, okay, here's what the month, let's just say it's a 30 employee account. We know how to price that up. We know what's embedded in it. We know what the deliverables are. And then, but here's the monthly defined set of services for that managed service account. But then we also educate them on how important it is to anything above that is billable, right? So there's because that's one of the banes of the IT industry without companies even being in it is making sure that they have, here's what's in the package, and then anything outside of that package they don't give away for free, because there's technicians running across this country that sell out that service IT accounts, and they're giving away millions of dollars as we speak on this podcast right now because they're not running their businesses properly. So we also, I don't know if that's where you're going with your question, but we get them comfortable with the managed services monthly concept and then educate them on what's billable after that. And then in addition to that, the value of doing project work, because you really, the goal here is to obviously sit down with the business owner and their senior executive team to say, okay, let's look at your business. What do you want to accomplish with technology over the next 90 days, 180 days? And we will help you do that. And then define what that additional work looks like. And then we prepare them for it, budgetary for it, all those things. And that's how we help our members maintain customers for years and years and years and years and years, because they are an advisor to their customer. It's not just, let me, make sure email is up and running and all that good stuff. That has to happen. It's taking a strategic approach to advance the end user's business.
Yeah, and coupled with that, Kevin, is that TAG has brought innovation to the from a technology standpoint earlier than most of our competitors. For example, 3 years ago, we said everybody would need to get into Azure. All right. If you don't get into Azure, at least buy the Microsoft stock, which is $139. All right. But Azure, that is changed the face of this community and what we do as a business. And the beautiful thing about Azure is that it's more profitable for you because your top line increases and you don't have to increase your bottom line to support it as much. Right now, on the MSP side, I do this, but I'm doing this also. All right. So the Azure is better for the customer, has better security, better backup. I mean, we can go on and on and on, and it's less expensive in the long run, and it's more profitable to the MTSP.
That makes sense. Mike, did you have a comment?
Hey, Kevin, can I interrupt I got a quick question. I'm kind of curious about the mindset and the attitude. So, we started January 22 with a different world, right? I mean, we're coming out of the pandemic. There was PPP money in the year before, work from home, all those influences, right? But coming into 22 versus 21 and looking forward to 23, is the mindset of the dealer improved? Is your business improving? Are they listening to these offerings with a more open and willing investor kind of mentality? Has it changed
In our
a big
group,
way?
Michael, it has, because when they go into their groups, so when they go to the BTA, when they go to the pro dealer group, all right, and they start listening to the TAG members that are been in the office equipment forever, they're longtime friends, they have really strong relationships, and they're all raving fans, and they all say, you need to get it, you need to go talk to TAG. All right, we've stopped the bleeding for them. They're making money, they're seeing their business grow, and everything comes down to economics. Is that the first guy who ran the 4-minute mile, all right, once he did that, everyone started running the 4-minute because they had something to look at. And today, running a 4-minute mile is no big deal, right? So it's the same thing that's happening here. Our dealers are the most profitable dealers in the industry belong to TAG. And you can talk to any supplier out there, that's what they'll tell you.
So don't be afraid. Is the message don't be afraid?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other message is this is the most exciting time to transition, evolve, and change your business. It's the most exciting time in the technology industry. We're in the fastest changing industry on the planet. And there's so much opportunity that the office technology company has, as you know, Michael, as you know, Kevin. They've built phenomenal companies all these years. They got great brand reputation. They got great, deliverables, customer experience, all these phenomenal things. And it's just a matter of getting excited about the opportunity to add IT or to add telephony or to add physical security. There's just huge opportunity to help them transition and grow their business. I mean, print's not going away, as you know, but it's a changing business. But there's all these other lines of business that they can add because they have the structure in place, the relationships in place. And, and like you said, don't be afraid, but don't do what most of the people have in the past, which is try and figure it out on your own. Which is, how would you like to try and figure out? I mean, let me ask you a question. How many, if I wanted to get into the copier industry right now, how many manufacturers do I get to choose from?
11.
How many are there? What's that?
I said 11.
Roughly. Okay, let's say 11 of them, right? Well, man, if you want to select a cybersecurity solution or a backup solution for IT, you can look at 50 of them a piece, if not more, right? And I mean, and that's just one component of the package you got to build. So the key is don't be afraid and seek help, because if you try to do it alone, you're going to be like this. You try to do it with somebody like TAG, we can get it down to this, and you don't have to make the same mistakes.
Dale, I think you made a point earlier about professional services type of work as well and project work. Historically, in my past experience, we found out that projects beget services. And is that how you see it for them to take on project work? Is really once you get the project and the relationship, more services get added to the agreement or to the partnership?
I would say no, because that's being brought into break
Yeah.
fix. Let me change this out. Maybe we can do it. There's a better way of getting their services than to do that. Break fix. We've never seen anyone really make a lot of money with break fix. That's why Azure is so attractive, is that it eliminates a lot of that break fix, it eliminates a lot of project work, so that you're able to really get the essence of the economics of, you don't have to send people to a site to change out a server. All right, it's all done in the cloud. So that's created it. One other thing I want to add to it, the other component here that we haven't talked about, but it does exist. There's a lot of guys out there that are hanging on from the baby boomers. They still own their companies. They're 65, they're 68. They're still, the older guys. They're saying to themselves, "Why should I take this risk at my age?" And if they don't have succession planning, if they have succession planning, their kids or the younger groups are willing to do that. But there's a number of them out there that don't have succession planning, and they're saying, "Why would I take this risk at 67 years old? I've got a lifestyle here. I'm making good money. Let me go sell it, a company, rather than make that not only the investment but the time and the energy to get into it." And that's going to pass you in the next 2 or 3, 4 or 5 years. These guys are all getting old, right? And that new generation is taking over. So that's a component we also have to take a look at. And we look at that when we approach somebody, is that, do they have succession planning, or are they the whole game? Does that make sense?
Well, you got a flip side to that too, though. So, from a more positive perspective, regardless of your age, 50, 55, 60, 70, there's the valuation of your company. If you've done nothing, if you've made no investments that enhances your valuation, regardless of how old you are, you could take the position that says that's very smart, sell it, or very stupid, because you're hurting the valuation of your asset.
Yeah, as long as you're not losing money getting into IT, all right? And that's where we come in. We pretty much, if someone starts with us cold, Michael, all right, they're not going to lose money, all right? and we have a definitive number. Here's what the cost to get into this business is.
Yeah.
All right. And you're going to recover that cost within the first 14, 15 months.
Yeah, and you and I had a conversation with Les, I think it was. It might have been Les when we did the podcast. And he ran into the issue, or if I can recall the conversation properly, one of the issues that he had was that he wanted to do it, but he did it badly to the extent that he passed on the responsibility downstream to a younger person. And that younger person didn't have the leadership or the commitment to what you're doing. And once you turned that corner with him and he owned it, then all of a sudden, boom, he was making all kinds of money, if I remember that correctly. And if I'm also correct, the other parts of his business came up as well. Print, copy, hardware.
Yep.
Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I think you had that conversation with Brian on the last podcast, I believe.
Yeah, there you go.
Ray. Yeah, you were talking about
That's
Ray.
where it came
Ray
up.
Durstein.
Yeah.
Ray, yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't remember where I heard it. I wasn't sure if it was on the podcast or not. But that was a profound little conversation because it took him 2-3 years to realize I'm not doing what you're asking me to do, TAG. Right? And he had to own that. And then he went into it, and all of a sudden he said he had, if I remember correctly, he had more profitability than he had in 3 or 4 years prior.
Absolutely.
I think
And more customers.
Yeah, I think the cool thing, this is my marketing hat from the ancient times when I was running marketing stuff. Really, you're creating a lifetime value with the customer. So once you're engaged in the IT side, who are they going to choose realistically? If you're handling their IT, why are they not buying the MFP from you? So I think it creates a much deeper relationship with the customer and a much more meaningful because you're really handling things for their customer, for the client, that are, quite frankly, more important than print. You know, IT's down, you don't sell. Print's down, you get another printer, or there's another one in the organization. So really, I think that's one of the big advantages for dealers as well in that area. And it brings me to another question. I think you mentioned visual security. And some of these other services, like even AV that dealers are in, same process apply to that? I assume it would, but.
Well, each product has a different sales process to it. And, we start with what's in it for me, what's it going to do for me, and here, the definition of technology in our mind is that if technology doesn't increase your profitability and give you a competitive advantage, why would you embrace it? So, when you sell technology, you have to find that ROI. You have to find, how do we do this? What's the best way of doing this? And right now, with the pandemic has created a mobile workforce that's not going to go away. All right, some's going to come back, but we're always going to have it. And you're going to end up with a hybrid. Well, I can go into a company, show them how to set up their company from a mobile standpoint. There's no reason for a salesperson to come into an office. There's no reason for an accounting person to come into the office. I can reduce their square footage by 25, 30%. That reduction of that square footage, all right, will buy them any technology they'll ever want for the rest of their business career. And here again, but what you have to show value is that here's how you manage a remote workforce, which we have programs that say, here's how you manage, here's how you motivate your employees. And oh, by the way, here's the proper technology you need to give them all the tools that they have here sitting at the house and have the security that you can afford here. And that's where Azure once again comes in. You can't get better security. And I can have remote workforce, put an SD-WAN on top of it, and I got redundancy upon redundancy upon redundancy, and that's the new world. It's not going to go away.
In addition to what you were saying, Kevin, huge opportunities in those areas that you mentioned, right? Particularly, I know that a lot of our members in the office technology industry have gravitated towards AV, right? That's kind of natural. But the next area that when they're ready, and some have already done it, but we give them that avenue because we've also helped hundreds of companies transition into physical security. And our largest non-office technology dealer, right? So push everybody aside, started off as a one-man IT company in 1990. And for the last several years, he's been doing over $50 million a year in the Southeast. and the majority of that 50 million is physical security. And he created a core competency for himself in that space. Huge opportunity there in a variety of different ways. We have organizations that get into it every year. We have companies that came out of the telephony space that transitioned into IT and then physical security. But and here's the other advantage: you don't. It almost also, if you look at your business differently, guess what that does for copier techs? It can also give them a little bit of a career path, because we have members that we've transitioned into physical security, and guess who's hanging the cameras? They're copier techs. Now their copier techs are doing something different. They're learning something different. They're creating more value for themselves and creating more value for the company.
So, hey guys, I know we're kind of winding down on the time here. I have one question that might be a little biased, but January 15th through the 18th, we've got the Executive Connection Summit coming up. You guys are participants and attendees, and you've been very supportive with sponsorship and years past and today. What message do you want communicated to the 300 CEOs that are going to be there, and the many, many, many dealers? If there's one message that you wanted that Executive Connection Summit to send regarding TAG and regarding, hey guys, it's 2023, you gotta do this in IT services and grow your business. So what's the summation there for you? How can we help?
You don't need to be fearful, and you will not lose money going into IT business if it's under a controlled and a proper environment. And here are the people who have done it. Here's the formula. It works.
And then
Brian?
take advantage of the opportunity, the phenomenal opportunity that you have to create the next chapter in your business with the technology, the people, those around you, like whether it's TAG, fellow consortium members, to help you evolve and change. Because we're all, as Michael likes to say, we're all in it together, right? And we are. And it's a great event. We experienced it for the first time last year. We were thrilled. It was phenomenal. We're looking forward to another great event. It's exciting, and everyone's going to walk away with information and tools and actions that will help them change their business. But key message is, there's never been a better time to be in this industry, and take advantage of the opportunity that's presented to you.
Well, that's a great message, and I'm happy to officially announce that just this morning we got confirmation that at least 9 of the 12 board members of BTA have been added to our dealer attendee list, and so BTA is going to take a good role in what we're doing going forward as well. So, Kevin, any further closing comments?
No, I think it was well made by Dale and Brian, but again, there is opportunity if you act properly. And the infrastructure in place that dealers have can easily work in these businesses with the right guidance. And I think that's the key thing. And what I love about the story today and what the TAG guys have been doing is simply, you've been disaster proofing the startup, or correcting the disaster from a startup. But I think the big thing, that's the fear that I hear. Well, it's going to have to hire all these IT guys. I don't understand it, et cetera. You take that away, and I think everybody will have a great opportunity to really grow their business and expand. And one more thing, a lot of the MSPs that service clients in the dealer community are much smaller than the dealers are, and don't have the infrastructure capabilities that a dealership has. And that's a huge point of leverage. So anyway, it was great talking to you guys. Can't wait to see you in January. And everybody else that decides to come out too, I think it's going to be really insightful. And I'm really enthusiastic about what the TAG Group is doing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well,
Thank you.
So, gentlemen, have a happy Thanksgiving, and I probably won't see you for the holidays, so happy holidays.
yeah,
We'll see you at
too.
ECS, and kick some
Thank you
butt.
so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
You got it.
Thank you so much, Kevin and Michael. We greatly appreciate it. Take care.